Hello. I'm Elodie Ramsey, 34, and last Thanksgiving was the night my entire family story burned down. I flew home to Asheville, cold air with smoke, the house glowing like a postcard. Everyone laughed like nothing in the world had ever gone wrong. I waited until the plates were full before asking, "Did the hospital send the surgery letter yet?" Dad chuckled. Valerie refilled her wine. "Yeah, it came," Dad said lightly. "But we used that money for Cole's birthday blowout." My fork slipped. No one paused. They kept eating. I leaned in, quiet enough to make the room tilt. "Then I guess you still don't know who needed that surgery." The table froze. Even the fire stopped crackling. That was the exact second the last thread holding this family together snapped. "Before we go on, tell me where you're watching from and one small detail about your setup." Couch, kitchen counter, porch at midnight. I love knowing where these little echoes of life end up. Because that night the laughing died fast. But the truth didn't. Part 2. The money they never earned. I didn't sleep. I lay on my childhood couch while the blinds rattled in the wind. The whole house felt smaller, tighter, like it had been shrinking behind my back for years. My phone kept lighting up. I opened my banking app again, praying the number had changed. It hadn't. 0. 10 years of work. 10 years of skipped vacations. 10 years of taking care of everyone but myself gone in a single weekend. Scrolling felt like ripping open old wounds. Transfers, receipts, late-night withdrawals, digital footprints of every time I went missing so they could stand a little taller. Cole's tuition. Cole's BMW. Cole's penthouse. Cole's emergencies. And the trust, the one I built bit by bit for his treatment, his future, his chance to walk normally by 40. I remembered the night I took his blood. His breath uneven. His joints burning under my hands. Something in me just knew. I never hesitated. I never have. Dr. Nolan's voice echoed in my memory. "You've got a window, Elodie. 6 to 8 months. After that, the damage is permanent." So I built my life around that window. Every bonus, every refund, every sacrifice. Some weeks I lived on ramen because it was cheaper than regret. And my father spent it all on fireworks. My hand shook thinking about Cole's stories. Crowd surfing, champagne showers, that neon sign behind him. 27 and unstoppable. Unstoppable only because he didn't know the truth. The sun rose slowly across the living room, warming the floorboards, but nothing inside me warmed with it. Something broke instead. Quietly. Not anger, finality. I wasn't going to save them anymore. Not again. Not ever. That single decision changed everything that came next. Part 3. When I finally said no. I woke on the couch under the same old blanket, the air stale and cold. But something in me had shifted. The house was silent, the kind of silence that waits for you to fall apart so it can swallow the pieces. I stood slowly. My legs ached from the cold. My throat felt tight. But my mind? Clear. I made coffee. The old machine hissed like it resented being used, but the smell still filled the kitchen, warm, bitter, grounding. I sat at the table and opened my laptop. The screen glowed cold and honest. Every account. Every transfer. Every automatic payment that tethered me to their comfort. I hit cancel on the first one. My finger trembled, not with fear but release. Then another. And another. The list grew shorter. My breath grew deeper. The room felt bigger. For years I thought love meant paying until it hurt. I thought family meant carrying whatever they dropped. I thought loyalty meant disappearing so they could shine. But that morning I realized the truth. I taught them how to treat me. I wrote the script they performed, and I could rewrite it. I walked to the bedroom and pulled out the box of receipts I pretended I didn't keep. Airline tickets, invoices, bank statements. Little paper ghosts of every time I carved off a piece of myself to give to them. And that's where the real story begins. I spread the papers across the floor. 10 years of my life arranged in uneven rows. Crooked lines for a crooked reality. Receipts, transfers, screenshots. Proof of every time I stepped in so someone else didn't have to. Rent I covered so Cole could focus on himself. Car repairs I paid for because Dad forgot. Hospital bills for Valerie's mother, who never once remembered my name. Emergency transfers for parties I was never invited to. I sank into the carpet and let the truth settle. Heavy and unromantic. It wasn't grief. It wasn't betrayal. It was exhaustion, quiet, bone-deep, hollowing. I picked up one receipt. The down payment on Cole's BMW 6 years ago. I remembered how proud he'd looked. How Dad clapped him on the back. How Valerie kissed his cheek. Not one of them looked at me. I set the receipt back down. One truth echoed through my skull. I was the only adult in that family. And adults get to choose. By noon I had packed a small overnight bag. Just clothes, my charger, my passport. Nothing they could guilt-trip me with. Nothing they could weaponize. I locked the door behind me. The click sounded final. Honest. Mine. For the first time in my life I wasn't running away. I was walking toward myself, and they had no idea what was coming. If I were in my own shoes, I had to choose a role. 1. Stay the fixer they depended on. 2. Step back and let grown adults carry their own weight. Echoes of life wanted the truth. My truth. It was 2:03 a.m. when the pounding started. Not knocking, pounding. Heavy, frantic, like someone wanted the door to splinter off its hinges. I jolted upright, heart banging against my ribs. For a second I thought I was dreaming. Until Valerie's voice sliced through the hallway. Elodie, open this door. Now. Of course. They always came running the moment their world collapsed. I walked to the door but didn't open it. Dad's voice boomed from outside. We know you're awake. Don't make this worse. I inhaled slowly, unlatched the chain and cracked the door. Valerie shoved inside like she owned the place. Her perfume hit me like a slap. She dumped a stack of statements onto my coffee table. You cut off every single one of Cole's cards. His cards. Her chest heaved as she glared at me. He couldn't even buy gas. Do you know how humiliating that was? Dad pushed in behind her, red-faced and furious. His BMW payment bounced. Repo notice right on the windshield. They're taking it in 48 hours. He jabbed a finger at my chest. Fix it. Now. Cole hovered near the doorway, hood pulled low like he wished he could disappear. Please, he murmured. My landlord posted a 10-day notice. I can't lose the penthouse. I stared at him, really stared. This was the kid I used to make grilled cheese for. The kid who hid under blankets during thunderstorms. Now he couldn't survive 1 week without my bank account. You'll figure it out, I said quietly. Valerie's jaw unhinged. What did you just say? I met her eyes, steady and cold. You'll figure it out. You're adults. Start acting like it. Dad stepped close, lowering his voice into that practiced threat I'd heard my whole childhood. You think this ends just because you said no? You think we'll sit back while you burn everything we built? A small sharp laugh escaped me. What exactly did you build? I asked. Your lifestyle? Your debt? Your entitlement? Cole flinched barely, but enough. Valerie folded her arms. You have 24 hours to reverse all of this. Cards. Car. Rent. Everything. Or you'll find out how far we'll go to protect this family. There it was. The line. The threat they finally said out loud. I walked to the door, opened it wide and stepped aside. Your 24 hours starts now, I said softly. Get out. They hesitated, just long enough to confirm everything I already knew. So I repeated it. Out. One by one they filed past me, Dad muttering, Valerie vibrating with rage. Cole unable to meet my eyes. The door closed behind them with a soft, perfect click. Silence spread across the apartment. A new silence. A final silence. The courthouse smelled like lemon polish and cold morning air. I sat at the respondents' table, hands folded, pulse steady but sharp. Across the table, Dad and Valerie looked smaller than I'd ever seen them. Their attorney, Langford, kept swiping at the sweat collecting on his upper lip. Behind them, Cole slouched low in his chair, hoodie up, scrolling TikTok like he was waiting for a routine cleaning, not a court hearing. At exactly 9 a.m., Clerk Ellison walked in. Her posture straight, eyes sharp, tolerance for nonsense non-existent. Langford jumped to his feet first. Your Honor, we're here because our daughter is in crisis. Claire didn't even let him finish. Your Honor, we're here because these petitioners attempted to hijack my client's life using fraud and abusive guardianship tactics. Ellison raised a hand. Call your first witness. Claire didn't pause. The respondent calls Dr. Nolan Beckett. My lungs locked. The side door opened and Nolan walked in wearing a charcoal suit and carrying a red folder. He didn't look at me, only at the judge. Professional. Steady. Untouchable. He took the oath. Doctor, Claire began softly, what is your relationship to Cole Ramsey? I'm his diagnosing rheumatologist. 11 months ago, I confirmed aggressive rheumatoid arthritis. He required biologic therapy within the year to prevent permanent disability. A low gasp moved through the courtroom. Valerie shot to her feet. Objection. Sit, Ellison said without raising her voice. Nolan opened the red folder. Ms. Ramsey established a trust containing $178,000 solely for Cole's treatment. His parents accessed that trust with a forged email and spent the entire sum on a social event, Cole's birthday. Cole's head jerked up. What? Nolan faced him directly. The window for treatment closed 4 months ago. You're now facing lifelong joint deformity and probable opioid dependence. That trust was your only viable chance. Dad turned gray. Valerie covered her mouth. The room went dead still. Claire approached the bench with 2 stacks of documents, the affidavit claiming I'd suffered a mental breakdown, and sworn statements from witnesses who admitted they were paid $500 each to lie. Langford tried to object again. Ellison hushed him with a single motion. She read every page. Slowly. Thoroughly. For 8 long minutes the only sound in the room was thunder rolling outside. At last she spoke. This petition is denied with prejudice. It is frivolous, malicious, and built on coordinated perjury. All legal fees are imposed personally on the petitioners, and this record will be forwarded to the district attorney for criminal review. The room erupted. Valerie collapsed into tears. Dad tried to stand and couldn't. Cole stared blankly at the projected invoice, the fireworks display that cost him his future. Marshals escorted my family out. Nolan descended from the stand, gave me a single, small nod and walked away. I stayed seated long after the courtroom emptied. Thunder shook the windows and for the first time in a year I breathed without pain. Cole's first flare came in June. By August he couldn't hold a coffee mug. By October he needed a walker. The medications ramped up quickly, hydrocodone, then oxy, then fentanyl patches. At 28, he qualified for disability. $842 a month. That became his entire world. Slow mornings, relentless pain, a future shrinking around him. Dad and Valerie didn't make it much longer either. The sanctions crushed them. Legal fees devoured everything. Their house went into foreclosure before Christmas. I didn't call. I didn't rush in. I didn't rescue them again. Instead, in January I listed the Asheville house. It sold in 6 days cash. A couple from Nashville. I paid off my last student loan, closed every shared account and moved to Charlotte. New job. New neighborhood. New number. At work I used my middle name Marie. A version of me untouched by history. On closing day I walked through the house. Empty rooms. Quiet floors. The Blue Ridge Mountains beyond the windows. None of it felt like mine. It felt like a chapter that had already ended. I locked the door gently. No anger. No sadness. Just peace, the kind that feels earned, not borrowed. Driving east with the windows down, mountains fading behind me, I finally understood. I didn't punish them. I didn't try to win. I simply walked away from a story that was never meant to keep me alive. And I've slept better every night since choosing myself. If this story touched you, tap like. Share it with someone trying to reclaim their life.